Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Koril, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit-Down. Yes, it's daytime. No, I'm not in Jersey yet. I'm actually going down to Jersey today to get my hair touched up and cleaned up before going to my buddy's wedding this weekend up in Mystic, so I'll be down in Jersey and then on the road. But right now, we're at home, and it is daytime when it should be nighttime. Last week, I was watching TV with my mom. We opted to finish what we were watching, and then I watched the first episode of this show, and by the time I was done with that record, it was 11:30. I had to go to sleep, so we watched the second one in the morning. This week, I fell asleep at 5. Got a full 8 hours of sleep. Woke up, tons of text messages. Texted my mom back because I had 4 from her, just being I'm fine. Fell asleep very, very early. Then put on Blue Mountain State and apparently passed right back out until now. So yeah, the sun's out. This has been out for a bit. And now we're gonna watch it. And I'm very excited to watch it because I really dug the first 2 episodes last week. What are we talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat? We are getting ready to take a watch and dive in spoiler-filled into The Acolyte, Season 1, Episode 3, Destiny. And that's actually a change from the first 2 episodes, which had 2 titles. Lost Found, Revenge, Justice. I wonder if going down to 1 title being Destiny, which is a very strong title for just a 3rd episode, but I wonder if that has to do with the fact that we've now had 2 episodes with 2 leads who are twins, and by the end of the 2nd episode, the second twin knows the first one is alive, where in the first episode, the first one found out the second one was alive. So I wonder if their knowledge of each other has now merged these titles in any way. I have no idea. It'll be interesting to see if episode 4 goes back to 2 titles or stays at 1 title. All of it is fascinating. I really do think that what we are getting from our creator here at Leslie Headland is quite good. I really dug those first 2 episodes last week. I thought the mystery, while we find out fairly quickly who the killer is, and even our investigating Jedi find out who the killer is fairly quickly. Headland is very good at posing a mystery, either solving or giving an answer to a question, and then posing 2 more questions behind it. Every bit that we peel back seems to lead to 2 or 3 more questions, which is making the show very interesting for me. Action-wise, I really am digging what they're doing, and I've seen some people say this, and now I'm going to start saying it, but the Force Fu stuff has been dope, and you all know how much I love hand-to-hand combat, and I understand why it might not be super, not impressive, but everybody's favorite thing. The one thing that we didn't say last week that I think in rewatching the episodes does come through a little bit, while I dug both action sequences in each episode, and I thought the choreography was really cool. To see Carrie-Anne Moss go about it with a very Matrixy vibe, and then to see Lee Jung-Jae just so nonchalant in how he was fighting May, I thought that was really dope. However, they're pretty much here. They're dead even. And I think when you have action in shows like these, you want kind of a natural progression up. So whatever happens this episode, for sure, has to be a different vibe, a different flavor, and something maybe a little bit bigger. Because kind of having 2 things almost the same in vibe and tone and delivery, subtle differences, and also at the same kind of peak as far as if you have your audio bars are bouncing, you're kind of hitting the same spot with both of them, and you want there to be a little bit of separation. So I will say that in rewatching the episode, I definitely felt that more, and hope for something really dope in this one, because I think the action, irregardless, has been very good in both episodes. I kind of dig this Force Fu stuff. The other thing too, in watching that action, both fights, May goes for the lightsaber. So I don't know if that is just a tactical move to gain a larger weapon and take one away from the Jedi, or if like she is purposely trying to grab these. I don't notice that with Master Torben, which also, why like, I'm upset that I saw a video where someone was like Barry Gibbs, and now I can't get it out of my head. Like, I didn't say it out loud, but the thing that was kind of obvious with him last week was like real bad beard. Like, that beard was so silly looking. But I hadn't gone to the Gibbs, and now I can't go anywhere else. But you don't see her. I don't think she takes Torben's lightsaber, or tries to. Now I gotta go back to episode 2 and see if I can't see like where that happens, or if that happens. I don't think it does. But either way, in the 2 fights, she does the same swipe and miss, and I think I said the same, like, swing and miss both times. But that's one of those, like, from the action standpoint, I really dig it, but I do understand people who are like, it's kind of like you get the same fight in both episodes, and I do hope that we get something a little bit different in episode 3. The other thing that I wanted to definitely touch on real quick, because I didn't give Manny Jacinto enough love last week. Dude is so good. I never watched The Good Place, which is where I hear he comes from. Especially in the rewatches, what he's doing with Keimer is so good. Like, I didn't necessarily piece it together in the way that it kind of feels it a little bit stronger as you rewatch the episode. But the vibe of, like, he knows more than he's saying. He definitely has better connections than May does. And the idea of him being the secret master feels a little too obvious now in rewatching the episodes, but definitely is a theory that I think is very plausible. I mean, he knows where all of these Jedi are. He has exactly the things and knows what to do. Like, it just feels like he knows so much more than May, and to just be like a smuggler that is working with this group, we don't know for sure Sith, although I think by the time you get to the end of the first episode, it definitely feels like this is Sith related. But it's one of those where it's like, whatever's going on, he's more than just a dude that, like, we get, like, poison from, or you know, weapons, or any of these things. Like, this dude knows so much more. And that sequence, while it's still a little puzzling to me why he would say exactly the things that would incriminate him and confirm to the Jedi that May is May, must have been some kind of a logical move, because in rewatching it, it doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like he's doing everything purposeful. The minute he notices Osha, even if he doesn't know exactly who it is, he definitely knows it's not May. And then that swing from, like, being kind of the goofy guy he's been to this point to, like, you look just like her. It's so sinister. And I definitely hope he has something bigger. Like I said, I think if he is the master, little too on the nose, a little too easy to figure out in a show that is mystery based. But I think he is way more connected or way more involved, whether he's the apprentice of the master or someone else who's vying to be an apprentice within the Sith. Like, he's definitely way more connected, and his performance in episode 2 is one of the strongest in the show. And then outside of that, like, I really dig this collection of Jedi that we have. Lee Jung-Jae is the heartbeat of this show. What he's doing is just so masterful, and he is so impactful. And hearing that some people have, like, been knocking him because he, like, English isn't his native language and he learned it more for this show, like, shame on you. Like, that has... I don't think that has any impact on what he's doing. I don't think it's impacting his line readings. I don't think it's impacting the emotion that he is conveying. Like, if anything, I feel the most emotionally connected to this dude with what he's doing on screen. And I think everything he's done has just been, like I said, masterful the whole time. I believe I was saying Stenberg last week. It's Amandla Stenberg. I apologize about that. But she has also been, I think, really tremendous. I don't think she has been the standout in either episode, in the sense that, like, I think Jung-Jae has stood out a little bit more. Certainly Dafne Kean. I love her Jackie. Like, what she has going on with that character and just how she's approaching it so far in these first 2 episodes. Like, she's the character that we've gotten a little bit of that I want more for. But Stenberg is then right there. I mean, I really do think it's quite impressive in how different these 2 characters feel. Yet right at the end of that episode, you feel the synchronicity, the twin element of it, where yeah, these 2 could be the same person, even though they seem more like polar opposites. Like, that is in there, in that look when they both see each other for that first moment. And I just think she's been very, very nuanced and very, very impressive in her delivery to make such drastically different characters. In the sense that, like, similar, because they're twins and they do have those vibes, but, like, their tone, even if May wasn't wearing the mask and the makeup and had the longer hair, like, if you had them both look identical, I feel like in the room you would know who is who just because of how she's carrying herself and what she's doing, which is just, like I said, been super impressive to watch, even though I think Jung-Jae and Kean are standing out a little bit more. And then I really dig Charlie Barnett. Again, I heard someone else say this out in the world, and now I'm gonna take it. But I am part of the Yord Horde, man. I am so here for this character. I love that of this group, he was the one that, gets the iconic, I have a bad feeling about this. And it just kind of went right past me when I watched it live, but rewatching it, I was like, oh, yes, I'm glad Yord got that moment. And I don't think that he is, like, a nitwit. Yes, it clearly took him longer to get to the master level, or is he a master? Whatever thing that he got, right? Like that, like Osha was very like, didn't see that coming. Maybe it took him a little while, but I think he's legit. I just think he's kind of a dweeb. Like he's one of those people, like I said last week, where you're just like, Yord, or in the inverse, you get the let's go, Yord. Like, I love that those moments are existing, and I'm really excited to see more of that group. The other thing that I learned, I thought it was really interesting that when you had the twin matchup in the younger versions, it wasn't the same actor, with Stenberg playing both versions as an adult. Turns out that the other little girl, Lauren Brady, is Leah Brady's twin sister. They apparently are fraternal twins because they're not identical, but they are real life twins. And then when I heard that, everything made more sense, because like I had said last week, I think reading, like having you flip and not actually getting to have a real back and forth or someone to play off of in that way for a kid is a lot harder. So giving them a scene partner that's their real life twin for that scene, even though they look different, I think makes sense when you have young kid actors. I just think you're gonna get more out of that sequence if they can play off of each other rather than do the scene, okay, now flip and play. Like, playing off of nobody, I think, would be a lot harder, even though I think Leah Brady is very, very talented. So yeah, that's where I'm at, man. I'm really digging what we've got in the first 2 episodes. Yes, it's not perfect. I do think that there have been some logic moments, like Stenberg in particular. Like, Osha had 2 where it was like, what are you walking off a cliff for? And what was the other one? There was something else too where I was just like, that's an interesting decision in that moment. So it hasn't been perfect, but I'm very invested in these characters. I like the development and the foundation that we've set these first 2 episodes. And, I definitely think while there are elements that could pop a little bit better or be a little less kind of see it coming type stuff, I definitely think there are certain elements where it's like you could be going certain ways with certain characters that maybe you telegraphed a little too early. Like, if Manny Jacinto is the master, yeah, you gave that, like, that that was way too obvious of a move. So we'll see. We'll see where those things land. But I do think that it is one of the stronger things in the Star Wars TV space that we've gotten, certainly recently. So yeah, I'm very, very excited. I can't wait to dive into episode 3, titled Destiny, which is going to, based on the image here, give us our first appearance for Jodie Turner-Smith, which should be a lot of fun. The only thing I know her from really is Queen and Slim, and while the movie itself was like, okay, I thought she was very impressive in that, so I'll be very excited to see her as Mother Aniseya, which will be exciting. Oh, and then the other thing, too, that I didn't call out, Rebecca Henderson, who plays Vernestra. Again, being someone who hasn't really read anything in the High Republic era right now, I'm reading Old Republic stuff. Not familiar with Vernestra, but apparently she is, like, big deal during those High Republic era times. That being said, and now knowing, like, this is a real big deal character, don't know if she necessarily had the biggest impact with what she had to do in the first 2 episodes. So I'm hoping that they give her more in episode 3 if she pops up, but she is definitely playing that version of a Jedi which doesn't seem to quite line up with things that happen in the books. The other thing that I heard, obviously, like, a lot of the books take place even further before this, when she would have been a badass. Now she's kind of like a council member, more buttoned up, but she's definitely got that, like, the Jedi are kind of feeling themselves vibes, that leads to kind of the beginning of their downfall, in the sense that, like, they kind of feel their own oats, and the whole back and forth with her and Soul, where she's like, no, don't go investigate the next thing and go after this other Jedi who could be in trouble. Come back to the temple so we can talk about this. Like, those vibes, I guess, are kind of different than things that she would have done in the books, which, I think is understandable if you're taking the character to a place further down the road, and could be playing into, like I said, the things that lead to some of the Jedi's downfall, and the, just kind of being caught up in, like, yeah, we're so awesome. That kind of snobbish vibe, though, definitely comes through very strongly for her, but I do hope that we get to see a switch. We've obviously seen she is the one, I'm now learning, that has that lightsaber that looks like a whip. Hope we get to see moments of how she creates that. We've certainly seen the motion of it being used in trailers. So if we get that moment, I hope, like, that. Then you go, okay, yeah, no, Rebecca Henderson be doing some stuff right there. So now knowing that, though, certainly more interested in Vernestra and what we get with her character as we go forward. And then coming off that convo, the last thing we'll say that I didn't really dive into, but Soul, he could be homies with Qui-Gon Jinn. Like, he has those Qui-Gon vibes of, like, why do I gotta listen? Like, I love the Order, I respect the Order, I follow the Order, but y'all be making decisions sometimes in ways that make no sense. Like, we need action, not conversation. And that vibe, I think, is very present with Soul, and it's been a lot of fun to see Lee Jung-Jae, specifically in rewatching the episodes, kind of tap into that type of Jedi vibe. And it's one that I think works perfectly for the character. So, okay, now I'm done. I'm gonna shut up. Let's get ourselves situated here. I obviously have the episode up on the TV, but I'm also going to do the audio thing. Like, I don't have to do this now, but it did make editing a little bit easier for me last week, so we're gonna try to get things synced up. But like I said, episode is up for me, it's up for you now. Let's waste no more time and take a look at what we are getting with the Acolyte Season 1, Episode 3, Destiny.
Indara, Torben, Kelnaka, and you.
That is the other thing, too, that I can't wait to find out, and I need that episode. Like, take me back in time, and I think is the bigger mystery, right? It's not who's killing these Jedi, it's what did these 4 Jedi do, and how are they all connected to these 2. I also love that moment when May sees her and she doesn't call her Osha, she calls her Oshi. Just that, like, familiarity was something that really connected. Like, you immediately feel, that's that moment where it's like, wow, these 2 are polar opposites right now, boom, you feel that thing that brings them together just in that one delivery. Can't wait to see what we get next. Brendock. Ooh, okay, are we going back in? Yes, 16 years earlier. Let's go. I did see in the one of the tiles going into the episode, looks like Lee Jung-Jae has like super short hair. I'm like, whoa, why did he get a haircut back in time? So I think you'll have short hair here. But yes, love that we're diving back into what was going on 16 years ago. And now, that's the other thing too, with the twins. If you're gonna go back and have this much with them, like if they're about to get like a whole sequence, I think it makes sense if you're using real life twins, even if they're not identical. It doesn't throw me off as much anymore. Look at her, man. Tapped into the force. So were they being trained? Both being trained? Or is that just natural for her? Oh, is she gonna kill this thing? Oh no.
Hey, let you know I was here. When I can't find you, I look here. Let it go, May. Stop!
So they just are tapped in.
I want to do the Ascension. It's just a ceremony. Besides, do it together. Come on.
I think it's fascinating that they're just both tapped into the force without training, it feels like.
Oshi, I'm with you. Always one, born as two. As above sits the stars, and below lies the sea, I give you you, and you give me.
What are you doing here?
Dear Mother Koril.
There will be consequences for breaking the rules.
I love that little rhyme scheme that they do. I wonder if that has anything to do with anything that's going on, like if it's tapped into some sort of magic or whatnot. Obviously, not a Jedi, probably showing them how to use Force things. So it'll be interesting to see how Lee Jung-Jae and them found out about this group, or how well connected they are. There, he looks kind of worried as he's following them. That's a great shot. So it would be great if this whole episode was just this. Like, I'm cool with putting the show on pause to go back to this whole thing and dive in if that's where we're going.
Have some spice creams?
Those are not for little girls who run away from home.
Have some spice creams.
Jodie Turner-Smith.
My sweet girls must have sweet treats. Don't you think so, Koril?
Oh, that's the tattoo that May has on her head there.
Meet me in the common room for your training session.
So, yeah, so clearly this is like a community that's got Force wielders.
Any sign of the visiting Jedi?
None.
I told you this planet would be safe haven for our coven.
It's not going to stay safe if Osha keeps running away. As our leader, I've always deferred to you when raising the twins. You're too lenient. A firm hand is required.
Osha is testing her boundaries. It's normal behavior for a child.
Twins are not normal children.
Definitely not normal children.
All living things are connected by the same thread.
That's cool.
Thread woven through all of existence.
I'm like getting Jedi vibes, but not getting Jedi vibes.
Some call it a force, but we know thread is not a power you wield. Pull the thread, change everything. Ties you, your destiny.
Okay, there's our destiny to die.
With you, to others.
And now this episode, the two of them are together, so that one title, I think, makes even more sense now. The way she's talking, she doesn't feel like a Jedi. And the power of one, interesting. Power of two.
Power of two. Night, at the ceremony, you will experience the power of many.
Pay attention.
Stop distracting.
It's just like a whole colony of Force users that aren't Jedi or Sith.
Me, you look weak.
These two.
Your enemies will not warn you before they attack. Get up. Block me.
May, clearly the stronger of the two. protecting Oshi.
Osha, I expect more from you.
I'm fascinated with what's happening here. But yeah, just like the way that she said, like, some call it a force that they claim, feels a little nose up to the Sith and the Jedi.
I don't want to do the Ascension. But that's how we become witches.
Okay, so it is a colony of witches. Right. With the rhyme scheme stuff, figured there was some sort of witchcraft going on.
Of course you want that. No, you want that.
Girls.
Now, this is interesting, though, because, like, with this tee-up, you'd almost think that if there was going to be somebody who'd start a fire that would take out their family, like a group of witches would be someone who doesn't want to be a witch. Almost feels like it could be Osha, but oh man, I'm glad we're getting this much.
Tell her you love her.
I love you. I love you.
Again, now the casting here makes a lot more sense. That sisterly familiarity is very strong.
The power of many instead of the power of one. You think you want something different than life in this coven. That is because you are young. The galaxy is not a place that welcomes women like us. Witches who have the abilities we do. You and your sister are special, Osha. I want you to stay special.
But yeah, like I said, the casting now makes so much more sense knowing that those are actual real-life twins. Because that vibe and that bond, you feel that between the two of them, I think, very strongly here.
What are you drawing? Stop! Don't look.
Like, this feels so natural.
It isn't fair. I share everything with you, and you hide things from me or run off alone. I want to have my own things. Why? Because I want to do everything together all the time? But why? Because we're not the same. Of course we are. No, it feels that way because we're the only children here.
Not just that, you're twins. Interesting.
Don't you wonder what could be out there? No. Why not? Everything I need is here.
What a cool, like, in the side of the mountain like that. That's dope. That had to be hard to build. That's just real cool looking. Yes, I'm here for stuff like this. Shout out again to the scoring. I think while we continue to not use any traditional Star Wars themes, although I thought there was hints of them in the first two episodes, all this scoring is so good. To meet another coven of witches, I think is kind of cool, because these don't feel like Night Sisters.
Tonight we enact a ceremony we have not performed since our exile. We were hunted, persecuted, forced into hiding, all because some would consider our power dark.
Jedi pushed him out.
We were on the brink of extinction.
That was terrifying.
We were blessed with a miracle, the gift of life.
Dude, that laughing, I'm digging all of this, man. Dude, look how excited May is versus Osha there. That's...
Claim your destiny.
What the thread has tied together, no one.
Dude, is it synced up with like some sort of an eclipse that's happening right there?
Power one, the power of two, the power of many.
Ooh.
The power of one,
To the power of many. Ooh, man. Dude, this is dope. These visuals are fantastic. And not just the CGI visual effects stuff, but just like everything. Costume design, set.
Mayho Aniseya, do you vow upon my death to protect the secrets of our coven and continue our legacy?
I do.
Ooh. Oh, is that how she got the... That's how she got that mark, okay. And Osha doesn't... So Osha's gonna bail on this.
Osha Aniseya, do you vow upon my death to protect the secrets of our coven and continue our
Emperor
legacy?
Osha. I think that's what she said. Yeah, she's about to bail. Now I want it.
2.
Mother! The Jedi!
They've sliced the platform.
She definitely did not want to. So interesting timing for the Jedi.
Down your weapons. No violence.
These witches ready to go to war. Also, seeing young, the young version of him though makes the beard look so much worse. Vibe though as they come in. Yay, more for
Indara, and these are my colleagues, Sol, Kelnaka, and my Padawan Torben.
Torben. That's what. Yeah, there you go.
You're
He
trespassing.
was just a
Forgive our intrusion. We
Padawan.
thought this planet was uninhabited.
The all-knowing Jedi were ignorant of their surroundings.
Does not like the Jedi.
Unannounced, armed.
Look at their robes. How they wear their sabers. Get back here.
She wants to be a Jedi.
We are concerned that you are training children. Republic law states...
Brendock is not a part of the Republic.
There are no children here.
Come out.
May stay hidden.
What is your name?
Sure.
That fatherly vibe.
My name is Sol.
Osha.
May we meet your sister? Where is their father?
They have no father.
That marking. It wasn't there this morning.
You're spying on us?
They want to take our children!
He's very concerned. Did you see that immediately recoil?
Hold your tongue or I cut it out for you!
Also wild to hear a Jedi say the Jedi don't take children. Dude, it's so cool to see the difference between the two of them and their reactions to their own coven and to the Jedi.
Would you like to be tested and see if you could become one?
Yes. Please. Mother?
They don't take. Oh, snap! That's the same thing that was happening to May's eyes in that vision.
I suggest you all leave. Now.
Mama!
So that's coming from this coven of witches.
You cannot deny that Jedi have the right to test potential Padawans. With your permission, of course.
Right, that's we don't take, we ask, and then we take. So that makes me wonder if is Mother Aniseya still alive, or some essence of her?
Appreciate your cooperation.
Gather my advisors.
She about to throw down.
We make our move tonight, while the moons are high.
Mother Koril, I urge you to remain calm.
One drop of Jedi blood, and the Republic would destroy us.
There are only 4 Jedi. Who would miss them?
Mother Koril.
We must let them test the girls.
No.
We don't have a choice.
Osha wants to do it.
Osha is a child.
She is old enough to know what she wants.
I did not bring the girls into this world so we could lose them to a bunch of deranged monks.
It is
How'd
not your
she
decision.
bring them into the world?
It is mine. And I've made it.
So the girls themselves are magic-based? Or she was the mother?
I created them.
Oh yes, this
What
is...
happens if the Jedi discover how you created them?
Oh, there's nefarious vibes. Check out this old lady.
A pass or a fail. If they pass, the girls leave. If we want them to stay.
They need to fail. So easy.
How will we know how to fail?
But Osha doesn't want to fail.
I don't know what they will ask you, but whatever's in your heart, you must say the opposite.
If we pass, they take us away. We can never see Mama again. No one's taking me. The Jedi are bad. The Jedi are good.
I love this.
It's about power and who is allowed to use it. You're a very powerful girl. Right now you want to be a Jedi, but as you grow, what you want, it changes, it shifts.
That is true.
Like the seasons. In winter we hunt with bunta. In summer with bows and arrows.
We still hunt. That doesn't change.
I like that. What we still hunt, that doesn't change. Like, the mindsets of these two kids is really fascinating. To see now the shift, like, Osha seems so far less hesitant compared to May, where it was the inverse 10 minutes ago. I was worried that we were only going to get a glitch, like when...
May, I don't want to lie. I want to say what's in my heart. You have to lie.
Hey! You will go first!
I was a little concerned when the Acolyte popped up that we were going to jump back to present time, so I love...
Promise me. Fine. I promise.
But I love that we're taking this much time to tell this whole story. Again, we get reveals, but that's creating more questions without revealing anything that's going on in the present part of the story. Another thing, again, where I think Headland just has a really good grasp on how to handle a television mystery. Her curiosity with the Jedi is fascinating. Yeah, she for sure failed, and probably would have failed anyway. There'd be darkness in that heart.
Do all Jedis get one of those?
After much training, yes.
Ow.
Gotta see if...
What are you doing?
I was just taking a blood sample.
I love how they never say it.
Tell us what you see.
A spaceship.
They're gonna be able to tell that she's lying. And I love that was that creature!
Correct.
Ha!
A mountain.
He's playing right back.
Correct.
That wasn't a
Oh, you mean...
Did someone tell you to fail this test?
I love Soul.
Your family doesn't want to be separated from you.
What do you want, Osha?
I want to be a Jedi.
I was very scared to leave my family. But when I joined the Jedi, I found out there were many other children like me.
There are other children there?
Thousands like us.
Soul.
But you must have the courage to say what you want.
I want to be a Jedi.
That guy's Soul.
Then you must have the courage to tell the truth.
We should continue the test.
I'm telling you, man, him and Qui-Gon, they would hang. But yeah, I love that they like clearly have to do the things that are involved with midichlorians, but they don't say the word. I think that's the second time in this current era of Star Wars television where like midichlorian things have been kind of like present but not said. Just getting a blood sample. You know, you need to see how many metachlorines are there.
Mama, she promised she would fail, and she broke her promise.
Vengefulness.
If only things were so simple, Osha.
I didn't want to lie. You lied to me.
That man used his Jedi mind tricks on her.
No, he did. I told him I wanted to be a Jedi because I do. I want my own life. I don't want to share with men.
Ouch. I get that, though.
Don't want to be a witch.
What's wrong with you?
Go and take a walk, May. Take a walk with Mother Koril.
What's wrong with you?
I have a cousin who's close to me in age that's also a boy, and my grandparents and my one aunt would buy us the same things all the time. That drove me nuts. I always wanted to be an individual, so I totally understand what's going on with Osha, even though I wasn't a twin.
Mama, I'm sorry.
Stop. Listen to me. Destiny is not decided for you by an anonymous force. You get to make a choice. Osha, if you want to pull the thread, then pull it.
I dig this mother, Aniseya.
I'll never see you again.
You won't. Fear should not make this decision, Osha. You should.
Like, giving her the tips that lead her to be a Jedi, right? Like, push away the fear. Make the decision for yourself.
I want to be a Jedi, Mama.
Like, there's good in her, even though I feel like this coven is got some nefarious vibes going on. Like, how did she create them? With magic.
Let's discuss the situation with everyone here. But we will consider your wish when we do so.
Jodie Turner-Smith crushing it, though. Really looks at them as as her children, you know? Because they are. Like, you feel that motherly love, even though during that ceremony you were feeling those witch vibes hard. Oh. May is pissed.
You can't go. We're stuck here now. It's not up to you. You can't stop me. Yes, I can. How? I'll kill you.
What? That seems like a...
Hey, give it back!
Seemed like an unnecessary jump, May.
Let me out. I won't let it happen. May, please!
I'll kill you? Oh, is this how she starts the fire? But if killing was gonna be the option, then just let her go.
Mama! Help me!
Oh, so mad. Kill her. That's crazy, man. I can't say I saw that coming. You know, like more of a you're gonna let her go would have been the thought I would have gone with. That fire. There's no way, even if you get that door. Is there a different door? What do you even put in there? Hope that door closes behind you. So, and now I'm starting to see, though, why Osha thinks a fire killed her family. I wonder if it's Jedi related. Like, were the Jedi looking to take this coven out?
Where's Mama? Where's Mama? Mama's dead. What have you done? What have you done? What have you done?
Nah, it's all making sense now. But like everything is making so much sense.
I got you.
And he did genuinely want to save both of them. But now I understand why Osha thinks that May was responsible for everything. But the Jedi clearly were ordered to take this whole coven out, which is dark in some respects. not in some respects, in all respects, if that's where it's going on. Dude. But yeah, like from Osha's point of view, that's a fire. And then from May's point of view, it's the Jedi. Now we jump to present. That was fantastic, though. Oh no, we're not. We're not gonna do any jumps. I love that we are taking this much time.
Where am I?
We are on our way to Coruscant.
What happened?
They started a fire.
Which is true. He's not.
He killed.
But now letting her make the connection.
You have to go back. We have to go back.
We can't.
We must.
There is nothing back there. You'll be safe on Coruscant. And if you wish, your trainer is my bottom.
Those Qui-Gon vibes, though, man. The guilt already. Like, you can just feel it.
You will never feel like this.
Oozing out of Jung-Jae. Like... May alive. We definitely need to go back at least one more time, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need to jump back one more go, I feel like, to get what happens from that point. Like, where does May go with that entire coven being killed like that? I feel like I need to know that. And then I also, like, I think at some point we're actually going to see what happened to the coven, and the reveal is going to be that the Jedi did it. From whether or not somebody makes a move, like, I could see Sister Koril being the one to initiate, and then the Jedi just, because they're being led to see that there's darkness there, right? Like, one of the things that was drawing them, I would imagine, to go try to save those kids is the fact that, like, you know, you're talking about the darkness that exists with the magic that, you know, this coven is doing. But again, this is another one of those things where whether this show is working or not working for you, when it comes to the mystery elements of it, like, yes, I think there are things that are very, very obvious. Like, clearly, May didn't kill the coven. The Jedi did. That's not... And it's like, it's one of these where it's like, while there's mystery for us, and I still do, like, we got at least 2-3 more questions that we come out of this episode with. But the mysteries of the show are really tied to the characters, right? This is more about, like, from this point forward now, May and Osha learning all of the pieces of their stories. That's gonna be, like, when May, or when Osha finds out that the Jedi killed her family, and that's what's driving May to do all the things that May is doing, that's gonna level, in some respects, Osha. Whereas, like, when you flip it to the May side, like, it's so obvious why she's going after those 4, and her going after those 4, from Osha's perspective, could be very much driven by the fact that you were going to take me away from her, right? So it doesn't have to be like she's mad at the Jedi because of what the Jedi did. What they did for May, kill our family, and you were going to take my sister away from me. From Osha's perspective, you're mad that these Jedi were going to take me away, and you did something that led to the death of our whole family, thus where she's come, like, so getting all of that in that episode to come full circle and just be kind of fully fleshed out and formed, I think is really, you know, is what I want, right? Like, you want to get these answers, but then at the same time, the question still is, what leads to that throwdown, right? Like, clearly there are things happening before May starts that fire. What leads to that escalation, right? But by no means was Mother Aniseya making it seem like she wasn't going to let Osha go. I mean, Osha's packing up. If May doesn't stop her, she's going to walk down and go meet up with those Jedi. So is it Mother Koril that steps in and does something that leads to the Jedi doing what they're doing? Because while I definitely get the vibes that they feel there is darkness coming out of this area, and that's something that they're concerned about, there's no vibe that they're going in there to kill all of these people. And again, that wouldn't be a very Jedi thing to do, even if you think that what you're doing is the right thing, like to just go in there and commit genocide in that way, or just mass killing. That wouldn't really line up. There'd have to be somebody who initiates something that leads to that, theoretically. Could these Jedi have gone rogue? Could, someone like Indara made a move that maybe lined up with not Jedi ways? There are still questions to be answered about what happened, even though we know what the result is and what the outcome is. The other thing, too, is, how is this magic playing into the main storyline? Because when you go into the vision that Osha has of May's eyes go full black, which is when Mother Aniseya, or I guess Mother Koril, can take over somebody. That their magic clearly can take people over, because you see, I'm guessing it was Koril, not Aniseya, but you see it happen to Torben. I love that Torben was a Padawan at the time for Indara. That's dope. In the Barricade of Jedi, as you can see, though, that is one of those knocks where, and it's I've seen some people say the cosplay stuff around some of these Star Wars things, and it's just is weird, because you have less budget on television than you do with a movie, but some of the stuff we get on TV is stellar. Feels very movie-like. Everything, I didn't feel any cosplay vibes with this episode. Everything that's going on with the look of the witches and where we are and the location and the sets, that stuff is all popping. But then you get something like Torben, where that beard is so whack. You're just how did that happen? And one of the other things that I don't think we talked about last week, that specifically, and I say specifically a lot, but especially maybe with this episode, I love that we're on location and we're on sets. I do think at times the volume can give us things that are valuable, or more valuable than a green or blue screen, right? Being able to have your actors be able to act off of what's going to be put, typically put somewhere in post, allow you to do more things in camera. I do think there are huge positives. I do also think at times it gets overused a little bit, and you can feel that. And when you're on a show that's using full sets, and granted, the volume is not just the volume, right? You build elements of sets and things into the volume, but there's a different vibe when everything around you is tangible. And I love that we're on location and sets for a lot of this. I think Headland was very, very adamant about not using the volume for this show, and I think it pays off in those in certain elements and manners of the show. But I also do get the cosplay thing sometimes, and it's not just Torben. There are times where it just doesn't quite look like the movie caliber TV. But anyway, this episode in particular, you don't feel that at all. This really felt super Star Warsy. I was really ingrained into what was going on, and the chess match that's being played throughout this episode, whether it's between Indara, Sol, Torben, and what's the Wookiee's name? Kalnaka. As I was like, the Wookiee's got such a dope name. I want to get it right. Kalnaka. It's such a solid name. Yes, there's this chess match going on between Indara, Sol, Kalnaka, and Torben, and these witches, which I was loving the whole time. But just the character development, I think that's been the strongest thing for me in these first 3 episodes, is we are really committed to character storytelling. And that, again, plays into the mystery elements, where it's we know more than the characters, but some of this mystery applies to the characters and is part of the story and means things, right? The fact that, May is going to be, or not May, Osha's going to be shattered when she finds out the Jedi were behind the death of her family. So, it's one of those where those elements of the mystery, while we may have answers or we can see things coming, the characters aren't getting there yet, and it's going to mean things to the characters, and just the way that this episode in particular kind of pulls together everything we built in the first 2 episodes and pulls together answers for us that allow us to see places we can be going, sure, but it's also teeing up things where there are going to be reveals and impactful emotional moments coming from this story because it's character driven. And this and Andor and the early seasons of Mando really, really did have that vibe where you are driving with character storytelling. And that's when I think the Star Wars stuff works the best. When you are ingrained and committed to taking the time to build character and tell good character story. Like, this in a different season of Star Wars television could have been like we get a piece of it in the opening, then we get a bunch of story that's going on in present, and then to end the episode you get another flashback. Like, you'd only get a piece of the story that gives you the main beats, right? Like, you probably would have seen the ceremony, and then we would have seen the Jedi pulling them out. And then, like, you'd probably go back at some point to fill in the gap between the 2 pieces that you show so that you understand, oh, this is what happened. And yes, from a mystery standpoint, you could have removed elements from this episode and done something more like that would have kept things hidden. But I think Leslie Headland and her writing team know that if you were to approach it in that way, the audience is probably going to figure it out anyway, which is why I think we're getting some of the answers and some of the conclusions to some of the mysteries now rather than later, because I think it's more effective to do an entire episode of backstory that really fills in a lot of the gaps. Yes, there's still gaps that we're going to see physically revealed, even if we know that they're going to be coming at some point. That reveal will probably come when it matters to the character. And that's where I think the writing here has just been really, really strong, specifically on the mystery side of things. Like, I just think Headland really understands how to do it, and do it in a way where it's like, I don't have 80 million questions, and then we're going to get to the last episode and have only answered 3 of them. And now we've got 79,999,994, right? Like, you've got so many more questions. We see this all the time with Marvel. We've seen it with some of the Disney stuff. Like, you build all this stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like you're building, you're like, oh crap, we only have 2 episodes left. Now we have this mountain of things that we have to reveal and answer for the audience. And I think it makes more sense to do it in spurts. Okay, we've posed a question, let's get an answer to that question, but then pose more questions. And I think the way that Headland and her writing team are going about this to this point is really in a manner that follows along with the, okay, we're not going to have 25 questions when we get to the end that we have to answer. We're going to have maybe 2 or 3 that are still hanging out there that we need to address in the episode while tying up everything else. And that was the thing about her Russian doll show on Netflix with Natasha Lyonne that got me very excited for this show, because that stuff Headland gets. And Headland, again, is someone who knows how to operate inside a 30 to 40 minute episode of television. And this, more so than any other show that we've gotten, maybe outside of Andor, because I just think it's the most perfect thing that we've gotten on the Star Wars television side. But you look at some of the Mando stretches, you look at even Ahsoka, or something not as great like the Boba Fett series. You look at all of these, and there's just this feeling that I'm satisfied at the end of the episode. Like, even though it's a 30-minute episode of television or a 35-minute episode of television, Headland and her team understand what to pack in so that it doesn't feel like a throwaway, doesn't feel like I'm being shortchanged. Like, there are episodes of Mando sometimes where you're like, that felt like it was how are we not, like, how are we, for the longest period of time I was like, how are we not doing these shows at the 45-minute to an hour clip every single episode? And I think the reason you feel that in other episodes of Star Wars television is that those series do have episodes that are 45 minutes consistently, and those 45-minute episodes feel fully fleshed out and fully formed, and then when you get hit with a 30, you're like, I feel like I'm missing 15 minutes. You've got 43, 39, 44, so you're within 1 to 5 minutes of each other on all of the episode fronts, and when you pull out the credits, you're in the 30 something minutes every episode. But when you have a writer who understands how 30-minute television works, you can populate it in a way where I feel like I got a 45-minute version of television. I know that's not the case for everybody, and I've definitely seen people be like, Star Wars, we gotta stop with this 30-minute television stuff. Like, let us go. Trust me, I'm always here for more Star Wars content, but I do think I am satisfied at the conclusion of every episode, and every episode is pulling me into the next one, which is another thing that I like. And I think strategically, the way that they release them too, like episode 1 pulls you into episode 2 harder than 2 pulls you into 3, or 3 is going to pull us into 4. So you get those two together, it feels like you got kind of almost one long piece of storytelling that naturally pulled you into wanting to push play again, to now I've gotten enough in those first 2 episodes, I can't wait for week 3, and now here's something that's fully completed to a degree with certain elements missing. But you get to the end of this one and you're just like, okay, now I'm ready to get back to that main story. Like that feeling of being pulled into each episode for me so far has been there, and I think it's because Headland understands how to operate in a shorter time frame and how to make the storytelling and the story flow where I feel like I've taken a lot out of each of these episodes. And then when you look at the episode in and of itself, like I love that we start right out by going back to Brendock and the 16 years earlier, right? Like, okay, cool, we are going right there. And then I mean, like I said, I was concerned when we got to the Acolyte coming up that we were going to go back to present time. Love that we stay where we're at. But even in that, like you're coming to a place in Brendock that we probably don't come back to. And you're doing, building for not just the characters, but from where they come from. Because feeling a connection, right? Like that yellow tree. Where is it? Like this yellow tree. That shot, especially when it's surrounded by all trees that are green, when we get it again toward the end of the episode, I've got a connection to Brendock now. And knowing that this tree is the place where these two go, right? Like Osha's like, how did you find me, May? Well, anytime I can't find you, this is the first place I think of. This is like their place. Creates an emotional attachment to Brendock for us, which is good because Brendock has an emotional attachment to our characters. And I love that we're seeing them play with the Force right away. And it's not like, oh, they saw the potential in these kids and they brought them and they taught. No, these kids are already wielding the Force. And I just like this whole back and forth with the poor little cat creature. Like, I'm sure that can't feel good for it. But like, and then to see it freeze again, and you're like, oh man, what is she like? And just the way she's looking at it, you're like, is she gonna kill it? And it's May. And I think that's a really strong vibe, and one that works in establishing how these two characters, again, are two sides of the same coin. They're sisters. They are one. That whole little rhyme scheme, and I love that ends up leading to some kind of witchery stuff going on. But that whole concept, like they are one even though they were born as two, and knowing that they were created makes it even more like, was Mother Aniseya trying to create one, or was she trying to create two, right? Like, was one created and set? Like, there's almost a level of like literalness to that, possibly because you're dealing with witchcraft. But again, that whole idea of like they are one, and there are moments with them as kids, the same as with what Stenberg is doing in her performance, where they feel like they are the same person, the same, like they have that twin vibe, but they are also very, very obviously polar opposites. One leans toward the dark, one leans toward the light. And just in this opening with that little, butterflying type creature, there's that strain in the score when Osha has it, where it's like, oh man, is she gonna go? Oh, okay, the release, she let it go. But then when May's doing it, I like that we don't know May is doing it, because your brain immediately goes, wait a minute, is Osha about to kill this thing? No. And that vibe and that feeling is because that's something that comes from May. Like, those little type of things are the things for me that hit and tell me, like, this is as strong as you think this is. So, I mean, I love this whole bit here, and then, like, you see the introduction of Mother Koril, and that was the first vibe immediately of, like, witchcraft. Night Sister vibes in the horns, and then, like, the markings that are on her face. Like, I wonder if she came from the Night Sisters. I have no Night Sisterly vibes with anybody else on Brendock, but Mother Koril, be fascinated to see where she comes from, and it would make sense to a degree, because really the only place we typically see magic is when it's coming from Night Sisters. So for a Night Sister to break off, to leave, bring magic someplace else that's more localized, and then that also would kind of create this interesting vibe of, like, well, Mother Koril, if she left her people, not shocking that Osha would also want to leave and have desires or dreams of something other than what she's been given as a kid. So I hope we go back again, because I think what we've built with Mother Aniseya and Koril and this whole little, coven is really fascinating. So, I mean, I love that stuff. And then, like I said, when the Acolyte logo came up, I was like, oh man, we're gonna go back to present time, and then to get to, like, the city and see, oh no, we're sticking with this story was great. But I think the whole downtown area here in Brendock is great. I love the vibe here. It feels like one of those, any other planet that we go to, if there's a market type area, it's got that vibe. I really dig all of the costume design here, as well as, like, the set design and stuff. And again, the feeling of polar opposites and in twos, right? Like, Aniseya and Koril, the parents here, they're on opposite sides in certain ways. Like, Koril handles these two kids very differently than Aniseya, and I love that you see that right away. And if there are dark vibes, it's not necessarily coming from Aniseya. It's coming more so from Koril, which in and of itself makes that part of the story more interesting, where I'm like, I want to go back here and find out more. Like, I want more of this story. I want more of these characters. And that's something that I think, whether you're liking the show or not, Headland is nailing, creating characters that are easy for us to ride with, to invest in. And it doesn't matter where they're coming from, whether it's the characters we're going to have all season, or just a pit stop in the storytelling where we meet some folks that we're only going to get once, maybe twice. I love that you feel that you want to find out more and spend more time with these characters, but are also learning plenty and getting them fleshed out in ways, like when you see them train. And that's where I think it's really impressive inside a 30-minute episode of television to pull off everything that Headland can pull off. But I love this whole training bit. Again, I think the casting with twins that look different, while it's strange that when you get to the Stenberg, it's Stenberg in both areas, but I think from an acting standpoint, that makes sense. Stenberg is already showing us that she's crushing doing both characters, and she can bring a very unique element of making them feel the same, because she's the same person. When it comes to kids, asking one kid to act off of nothing would be hard. And for one scene, okay, I could see the argument of, like, well, it would just make sense. It would have made more sense if you would have stuck that. But to get a whole episode with these two, knowing that they're real twins in real life, it makes so much sense. Because the sisterly vibes between the two of them, like, when they start to bicker, like, this whole bit right here, it just, like, there's something serious going on here, right? Like, you're being taught something, and yet the two of you can't stop bickering over this little thing that was floating. And that's something that you feel that vibe, because these two are sisters in real life. And I think that would be difficult to do with children actors, whether it's just one trying to inhabit two different characters, or having two actors that aren't like that aren't related, right? Like trying to get like to have it be that natural at that age. I now understand why the casting went the way it went, especially when you have somebody like Leah Brady, who's already shown you that she's a very talented actor. Like if you watch that Violent Night movie, she gives you adult vibes in kid form. So casting her, I think, makes a lot of sense, and I think she does naturally look like a younger version of Stenberg. And that talent is there, and clearly her sister's got some of that too, man. Like it was almost at the beginning, kind of felt like, okay, here's the sister who acts bringing her other sister along who's not as strong an actor. But then when we got more time with Osha, there was a lot more balance and lot more layers to what she was doing, I thought, as well. So Leah's sister Lauren, for a minute I thought she was just kind of being pulled along, but shows she's got some depth to what she's doing there too. And I think having actual sisters play this role for a whole episode, it makes so much more sense. But I love that you see that you're building these two kids with the Force, and it's not that they've been training all of these witches in the Force, but clearly Aniseya can train the witches to tap into elements of the Force, but there's something different going on with whatever they're building with these two. Being engineered, developed, created, however it is, and then Koril actually carrying them. Like, there's a different purpose with these two, which is why I want more of this story. I think it's an interesting place to draw back to, and in creating these two characters, because there could be more for them going forward. So if you're creating interesting backstory, if you want to continue to tell this story past season 1, yeah, there's layers here to dive into and look into, which I think is great. I love when you see Aniseya interact with them. She really is very motherly and understands the kids and doesn't want to take things away from them because of what she believes destiny to be. Our title, right? Like, destiny is something that's not made up for you. You have control of your destiny. You can choose the path you take. And I like that Aniseya is willing to let Osha go on that path, but the anger and the hate in that exists in May is so strong that she is just immediately willing to, like, you didn't want to become a witch, now you want to be a Jedi, you want to leave, fine, I'll kill you. Like, that is such a strong move. And I can understand it, having siblings, you have relationships where you don't want to lose them. I have lost a sibling. It sucks. But even with the two that are still here, I live a fortunate life where they are very close, and I'm able to see my brother and my sister and my parents a pretty good amount. I would not want anyone to leave and not come back. That would be terrible, and in some ways almost worse than losing a person the way I lost my sister. You lose someone to death, there's a finite end. That person just leaves and never comes back. Builds up anger and resentment. And the fact that you can kind of feel that in May very early, I think again taps into the twin aspect of, like, she can feel that Osha's not going to do the things that she said. And then she acts very, very childish afterwards. And that childish thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to start a fire and I'm going to kill you, ha ha ha. You don't think it's actually going to happen, and then it does. And it's one of those where actions have repercussions. And these kids are feeling those repercussions very, very quickly. I did love this whole training bit. I love that May was in and out, and then Osha comes in here and is trying to do what May wants her to do. I love that Soul picks up on it and is just like, oh, you see a spaceship? Yep, that's right. Oh, you see this? Yep, that's right. And you trick her into going, that's not a... Oh, so you're lying. So you are... I love that Soul picks up on that. And then, just that fatherly vibe, when he just is sitting, just the way he looks at her, you understand immediately why Osha trusts him, because he is coming from such a honest place, and the way he is able to deal with a kid, you can tell he's got a lot of experience with kids. He knows how to talk to them, and because of what happens, and this is where it's like, were they provoked and then they acted, or was this something the council told them to do? There's almost an element of like, he is looking out for these girls so strongly, and is that because he's the one that's been keeping an eye on them since they learned about them, or does he know something bad is coming and he's trying to protect them in certain ways? Everything that Jung-Jae is doing is just freaking so good. But getting to see him interact with the younger versions of them, I think only amplifies how he's interacting with the adult versions of them. So I love that you get that whole bit. And then, I mean, this whole ending sequence, you know, where this almost looks like she's in a trance. So is this actually May doing this? Or is this someone like Koril doing this? Like, there is an element of like, oh, I'll kill you, but like, it just seems like something overtook her. So like, again, we've got questions to go with the answers that we're getting in each of these episodes, and this is one of these, like, what was actually going on here? Was this a decision that May made, or was she coerced? Was she like, I think there's more happening here than what we're being given. But in the same respect, what we are given, I think, works really well. And the way they set this whole thing up, you can now understand where these two girls are coming from when you get to, you know, the two of them standing on this platform, where it's like, get it better. Like, you know, you're standing on this platform looking at each other. Now, getting this whole piece in this sequence, you go, I see why Osha thinks May killed everybody. And I also understand how May is pissed at the Jedi for doing what the Jedi did. Like, May knows a piece of the truth. Osha knows a piece of the truth. The pieces of truth that they know completely make sense to all the things that they're doing now as adults. And that's where this episode, and taking the time to do this episode, I think really ultimately pays off in the biggest ways to this point. This is my favorite episode of the three. And I think it's because Headland is building this thing in a way where, coming off those first two episodes, this gives us a lot more depth to elements and improves what's going on. Like, now knowing these things, if I go back and rewatch episodes 1 and 2, I'm probably going to get different vibes. I'm going to look at things in a different way, and that's adding rewatchability to what's going on. So, clearly, for me, everything about this show is working in the sense that, yes, I do think there are things and elements that aren't. There are things that are being very telegraphed. Some of that I think is purposeful. Some of that I think is not. There have been, in those first two episodes, some logic decisions where I've been like, nah, I don't know if that totally vibes. And there's been some hits and misses. You know, the reutilization of the Force Fu as your action. But then you get into this one, there's really no action to have in this one when it comes to that stuff. But I was so gripped and enthralled in what was happening in this piece of story because of what the first two episodes built. And that's where it's like, I just think the delivery of the storytelling pieces, whether you like what those pieces are or not, I think what Helen is building here, once again, just proves that she's very talented in the world of television storytelling. And then for me, when you enter in all the Star Wars elements, I think it's checking a lot of boxes in the things that I want in a Star Wars story. And just, again, how you're able to make each one of these 30-minute plus episodes feel this satisfying is impressive in and of itself. And I can't wait now with having I'm going to go back. I'm off this whole week. My buddy Nico is getting married on Saturday, so I'll be up in Mystic starting tomorrow through Sunday, and then I'm kind of off through Thursday with, like, you know, an extra day for Monday. My regular off day is in the holiday, so I've got some time off. I'm probably going to rewatch these while I'm up in Mystic, and I think that they're gonna play even better, and it just gets me really excited for next week. So I know that this show is not something that is a home run for everybody, and that's where I like conversation. But I like conversation when you know it's coming from a place without any prior motive. I think there are people who were hating this show before it was released, will hate this show no matter what it does as it's released. That's not the people I want to talk to. But the people I do want to talk to are Star Wars fans that are coming into this wanting something good And if it's not working for you, what's not working about it? What's not connecting? And is there anything in the conversations that we've had over these 3 episodes together that maybe has clicked things in ways where you're like, oh, I didn't look at it that way. Now I can see something else. Like, how are you ingesting this show, and what is working and what's not working? Clearly, I love the characters and the storytelling. Is that the same for you? What do you think of set design? A lot of physical, practical sets here. The costume design. Which things are feeling the most Star Warsy and not? And how much did you love episode 3 or not? Does this backstory help? Does it add? Do you think it elevates the first 2? Does it set up interesting things going forward? And how is this mystery unfolding? Do you feel like you're seeing everything coming before we get to it? Or do you like the fact that, yes, there are things we're getting answers to. Maybe there are things that we're telegraphing on purpose, but it's also creating things that we're asking. Anything that you've got on, in particular, episode 3, Destiny, of season 1 of The Acolyte, or just the first 3 episodes in general, what you're thinking about the show, good, bad, indifferent, put it down below in the comments section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailer reactions, you want to be here next week as we watch episode 4 together. You dig the vibe, you want to show a little love and support, well, hey, if you haven't, come join C-Maniac Nation. It's where all those things happen, and all you got to do is jump over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts, and until next time, for the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down, I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Hey, what's up, C-Maniac Nation? Winter Ken here, where we grow out our roots and our beard, letting you know that you can see some new C-Man videos right up here and right down here. And if you want all those videos and show that man a little love and support, come join C-Maniac Nation right over there, and the C-Man will catch you on the next one.